All right, we are back. It's been a long time coming, but we finally are back and better than ever. I don't think we've potted in maybe a month or so or more. Obviously, summer is a tough time of year for everybody, it seems, as you guys all saw with the whole voting of demerits and all that stuff. But in any event, we are here. Matt, welcome. It's been a while, and it's good to talk to you, man. If no one, before he even says anything, we actually haven't talked since our last pod. This is the first time we've actually talked. That's how busy we've both been. So, but anyway, man, welcome back.
It's good to talk to you again, man. How you been?
Dude, I've just been busy and, just busy, and plus trying to go to my boat as much as possible. The summer we're having in the Northeast rivals the summer we had in 2016. In 2016, I sold my boat and had a few deals fall through. So for the only time since 2010, I was boatless that year. And then we had the best summer, at least in Rochester, New York, on record between dryness and heat. We had 28 days over 90 degrees. And while this summer isn't as hot so far, it's been just as nice, except for a couple of rainy weekends in the beginning. We've been good. So, I actually went to my boat the Friday before July 4th, Friday night, and did not get off until the Thursday morning after July 4th, so July 5th. I stayed there the whole time with my dogs, and then I was home for one night and then went back Friday night, July 6th, and stayed till yesterday morning. So it's been, so that's what I like to do during the summer. I hibernate during the winter, and I live on the water during the summer. But what about you, man? What have you been up to?
Just working, man, and living the dream. Just working. I'm gonna go to the beach this upcoming weekend, so I'm pretty excited about that. Just that, I'm just hoping that this week just freaking flies by, because I've been looking forward to going to the beach all summer. Because like you said, it's been hot and I've been working, so it's a much needed vacation that's coming up. So me and you, we're both in the same mindset, just enjoying the warm weather while it lasts.
That's cool, and I agree. So we have a ton to talk about. We need to go over the season 45. We have to review HSTL season 45, as well as we have to kind of preview the playoffs a little bit. So I'm going to start by telling you who the playoff participants are, just in case you can't tell. And then we'll kind of review the season and then go through the playoff picture here. So, in the AFC, officially, the 1 seed, scroll down here on the screen so everyone can see, the 1 seed, even though the standings don't indicate it, is Joey Gatz. The 2 seed is Tecmo Bow. The 3 seed, also the standings don't indicate it, is Old Dirty Tecmo. The 4th seed is Randy Wags, who lost a tiebreaker to Gatz because he lost both games versus Gatz during the season. The 5th seed is Big Hawk, who lost the tiebreaker to Old Dirty Tecmo based on divisional record. And the 6th seed, your boy, Jack Trudeau.
Yeah, baby.
Going through a whole bunch of tie-breaking mechanisms against Rockman and then Tadeos. Who's backdoored his way into the playoffs with his less than 90 QBR in HSTL. And we're going to be throwing some lollipops to Meggett. I'll tell you, man, Jack really failed me the second half of the season. He was so magical in the first half, and he was really flat. I actually had a game against Hugh Millen. I was one of the Dolphins' 4 wins this season, because Jack and Jeff did not complete one pass, literally not one. So that was tough. But I'll tell you, somehow I snuck in. I played hard, and at 8-8, the team you drafted for me, like you predicted, is in the playoffs. What do you have to say about that?
Friggin' happy. What do you want? Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, baby. Nobody. Listen, I had so much smack. Oh, Hoff's gonna be so mad about this team being drafted. Listen, I'm so happy with the 16, and I hope that you throw 98-yard bombs and you score 28 points a game in the playoffs, so I can just sit here and laugh. And then once you win the Super Bowl, with Jack Trudeau, I might just hang up like the cleats, especially GM capabilities. Because after that, there's nothing that needs to be said. It's just ball drop, mic drop, whatever. Um, but yeah, no, I'm proud of you, man. I'm happy that you made the playoffs, and I hope you do some damage. Like I said, I mean, your defense is solid. Just so long as Trudeau can connect and you have okay conditions, you should be in good shape. But so you'll be playing Diaz the first game, right?
Yeah, so we'll go over playoff matchups in a little bit, but we're going to just go through the NFC playoff people real quick here. Your number one seed is War Machine, who beat Nas to get the tiebreaker over Nas. Your two seed is Nas, as we just kind of talked about. Your three seed is Jesus. Your fourth seed is Rico at 13-3, which is the same record as the 4 seed I was last season. Your fifth seed is Zur at 12-4. I think that might be the best record of a fifth seed that I remember seeing since I've been commissioner. And the sixth seed is Prime at 10-6. So I'll tell you, this NFC, it seems like it cycles back and forth. These NFC, if you look at the NFC, is basically a tale of the haves and the have-nots when it comes to records there. So it's going to be, that's pretty much that. So looking over let's just review the season before we go over the playoff matchups, and we can kind of talk about my team and my thoughts and what have you. But starting with the AFC, we'll go backwards. We'll end with my division because that'll lead into the playoffs. Let's start with the NFC West. I think the NFC West, with Nas at 14-2 and Prime at 10-6, I probably expected Prime to do a little bit better. I liked his team. I didn't expect him to lose 6 games. I also didn't expect Nas to go 14-2. So credit to both of them. They're still the powerhouse of the division. Not really sure what we had in player because I haven't really seen him enough. And Drake, who's been very competitive, as he's kind of stayed on Discord, it just, was disenchanted by the long off season in the format and didn't draft a team to his playing style and just kind of packed it in early. So tough season for Drake. I expect they to come back hungry because Drake definitely puts up a fight regularly. But do you see any surprises, or you kind of just see what you expected from the NFC West?
Yeah, no, I mean this doesn't surprise me at all. I think we all figured that Prime and us were going to be neck and neck with whoever won the division, and I mean, I don't even know because like I spoke to you right before the pod, like I haven't really paid attention to what the tiebreakers were and how they split or if somebody swept somebody, but I mean, Nas 14-2, he's going to be in there, you know what I mean, to contend for the Super Bowl. So no surprises here. Prime always fights hard though, so hats off to him. I mean, the whole thing with Prime is, from the time he started to up till now, he's I would say he's progressed a lot quicker than a lot of people. Him and War Machine, really, those two have really progressed in a span of like 2.5 years since they started. So
yeah, I'd say Randy Wags is probably in that conversation as well. People who not that Randy was ever bad, but it's just those three I just remember being progressing very well.
Yep.
I actually, one of Nas's two losses are one to War Machine and one to Prime. So it's kind of interesting there. I figured, as I said, I kind of expected Prime to be a little bit closer. But going to the NFC Central, this was the powerhouse division of the whole league. I mean, we expected Rico to do work magic with QB Eagles. I don't think we expected Rico to get swept by War Machine. I think one of those losses was because QB Eagles was the one game that QB Eagles got hurt. But, credit to War Machine to really taking it to this division, this tough division. Credit to Rico to starting, I think, 1-2 and then rattling off, I think he rattled off 12 straight wins. Credit to Zur, who started 2-4 and rattling off 10 straight wins. And a team that you and I talked about this in our season preview. That team is not built for Zur. not built for his his hucking style. I think he has Boomer on that team. So kudos to him, and also kudos to Big Red for putting up that kind of fight in that division when with the powerhouses that at least this season he had in there. But War Machine, man, you're really taking it to everybody, and I will give. I expect War to go very far in the playoffs. But what do you think about the NFC Central?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, War Machine Rico we had slated. Zier's a little bit of a surprise, especially I'm seeing the website winning 10 straight. So that's a little odd. Just with the team that he has, kudos to him for pulling off 10 straight. I mean, War Machine and Rico, they're the ones that you kind of, if you're in the NFC, I would say you kind of got to watch out for because, they've had a very competitive division. I mean, they had to play each other all twice combined 4 times. So to come out on top with those types of records within their own division is pretty impressive. You know what I mean? So, yeah, War Machine. I think War Machine's hungry, especially after reaching the bowl last season. I think he got a taste of it, and he's really kind of on a mission. So we'll see how it goes. But obviously, when you have QB Eagles, I mean, anything could happen. But then, with that being said, if he gets hurt, then you're pretty much down in the dumps, and it could really take you out. But yeah, very competitive division. I'm surprised with their records: 14-2, 13-3, 12-4. So definitely the most competitive division in HSTL right now.
Yeah, they kind of took that honor over from the AFC Central, who everyone complained was so strong, and so we did another realignment. And now, I'm granted, I mean, these divisions cycle, so I mean, it was just down season for the AFC Central, but a stark contrast in the AFC Central compared to how it usually is. Going to the NFC East, you've got the pace leader, Jesus. I fully expected Dolo to win this division just because he has just been so strong. But he didn't, although really interesting to see Dolo's differential actually at better than Jesus's at 123. And for those of you who kind of like follow metrics at all in real football or basketball or whatever, they usually, or even baseball, they use point differential or run differential, we want to call it, as kind of like a projected win total or win-loss total. And Dolo's differential compared to his win-loss total is way out of whack. So he either lost a lot of close games and blew out some wins or whatever, but that's what kind of led to that. But Jesus took it to that whole division, and I think my two biggest surprises this season, one of them we'll get to in the AFC Central with Sean, just stall talk, not doing well, is Turbo. I mean, he won a couple of games at the end of the season, but I'm kind of shocked that he went 5-11. He's been so consistent and playing so well lately that I thought he would have a better season. But kudos to Jesus. He played well, and I believe he has QB Bills, which is obviously helpful. But good season by him, and he's going to probably make waves in the playoffs too with that tapping ability. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, see, I think, I'm surprised by Dolo. I mean, Jesus is like kind of that hit or miss person. I mean, you predict him to do very well, and I kind of was on the Turbo Dolo bandwagon just because Turbo, with his newfound tapping method and how he was doing for a little bit there, he was doing pretty well, so I thought he was going to ride that wave into the season. But when I played him in Philadelphia, he said he kind of just hit a wall with online, which, we always, actually, I think it was our last pod, we talked about slumping and all that stuff, and I think he kind of began to slump a little bit from what he said to me. But yeah, I'm definitely surprised that Dolo kind of missed it. Dolo is the type of guy that if he's a 6 seed, he's a very dangerous 6 seed. He's the type of 6 seed that could win the whole thing. So surprised that he missed out on that. But yeah, I mean, right now, Jesus 13-3, doing well. He's another strong competitor. I mean, the NFC's it's tough to pick. You know what I mean? Just because you have all these competitive guys that are facing off against each other, but they all have their own individual identities and qualities about their teams. And it's going to be interesting to watch in the NFC. I'm actually more interested, I think, to watch how it unfolds in the NFC than the AFC, just because you didn't really expect like some of these teams to do so well. I mean, Zier winning 10 straight. I mean, he's probably the hottest team right now in HSTL. So it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds, like I said. But I think Jesus. I think he's going to do well in the playoffs. Maybe make a championship game. It would be interesting to see how he does in the Super Bowl game. I don't know if Jesus ever made a Super Bowl appearance in HSTL, but that would be cool to see too.
I would say probably, except for Prime, we can kind of call all these other playoff teams the hottest teams in HSTL. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe aside from the AFC West, simply because of their records. I mean, War Machine only lost 2 games. Rico only lost 3 games. Zero only lost 4 games. I mean, all season. Jesus only lost 3 games. So it's going to be we can actually, we can go. Why don't we just do playoffs for NFC before we go into AFC and kind of go that route too? So obviously, I will say though, and I know he got a lot of razzing from this from the guys, but do you have any thoughts on the Mac going 1-15 after passing QB Eagles with the number 1 pick and picking the Chicago Bears secondary instead?
Yeah, I mean, I think he would have done a lot better if he picked QB Eagles. I mean, when you go 1-15, it kind of shows that your skill set's not as up there, and in order to alleviate that, you need an elite player like a Bo Jackson or a QB Eagles kind of just to offset and at least be competitive. So, I mean, it's a lesson learned. I don't know if it was his first. Is this his first time in an online league or no?
I don't think so, but that was his first. That was his first draft in HSTL, I believe.
Yeah, so I mean, he'll learn. You know what I mean? So he'll get there eventually. But obviously, he should have taken this draft QB Eagles because I mean it fell to Rico, and who knows what would have happened as far as the playoffs if QB Eagles didn't drop that far, and then he took them. But yeah. And my advice would be never to pass up on QB Eagles if you have the chance to take them.
Yeah, interesting note. Tundra Yeti got the number 1 pick, in round 0, which he kept with. The Mac got the number 2 selection. He actually chose to drop down to number 14. So interesting. We'll see if there's method to his madness. So the playoff matchup in the NFC is it is Prime at Jesus. So it's the Falcons at the Cowboys, which I believe is going to be a good matchup. And then as the 2 wild cards, 12-4 at 13-3, Zur at or the Vikings at the Bears, Zur at Rico. So why don't we start with Jesus and Prime first? I think they've had some epic battles, to be honest. I know they kind of have a war of words sometimes on Discord after their games, but I mean, what do you expect to? I mean, we can kind of go into their teams here. I'm going to go into their teams on the stream just so people can look and kind of refresh themselves of what we're looking at here. But Jesus looks like his key players. He's got QB Bills, Sterling Sharp. That's kind of like his offense with a little bit of low white thrown in there. He's got the Chiefs offensive line. And his defense is basically the Manny Hendricks, Isaac Holt show because he has the Seahawks linebackers and the Chiefs defensive line. So it looks like it's basically the QB Bills Sterling Sharp show for Jesus. And then for Prime, which by the way, Jesus lost the Prime. If you're I don't know if you're looking at the team page, Matt, Jesus lost the Prime 28-14. This season. So they actually did play this season, which was interesting. I didn't know that. Going and looking at Prime's team, who is always stresses balance. He has Jim Everett, Garrett Anderson. He's throwing to the Cardinals receivers, which is Roy Green, Ricky Prohl, Ernie Jones. Keith Jackson is probably his primary receiver. And then on defense, it's basically the 2-headed monster of Lewis Oliver and Jarvis Williams with a little Ken Harvey thrown in show. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting here to see how this goes. I mean, Prime's team is just kind of built for no one exceptional but no one bad kind of thing against Jesus, I'm actually going to click on this box score of Prime versus Jesus to see what happened in that game. So Prime won 28-14, and looking at the box score, it looks like Prime had 1 fourth down stop, 1 interception, and a fumble recovery. So there were basically 3 turnovers in essence there. So it just kind of looks like QB Eagles had a bad game, and Prime looks like pinpoint with Everett and with a little bit of Gary Anderson thrown in there, and that's pretty much what it boils down to here. So I think in this matchup, it's going to be as QB Bills to Sharp goes is how Jesus is going to go. I think Prime can chunk off enough yards with Gary Anderson to kind of negate the tapping thing. And with his passing game, the way Prime passes, I think that'll also neutralize Jesus' tapping advantage a little bit. What do you expect to happen in this game?
I mean, it's tough. My question is who's Jesus' running back?
Looks like Lorenzo White.
Lorenzo White. So, all right, yeah. I mean, just based on that, I'll probably pick Prime to win. Just because I know, it really is true though. I mean, if QB Bills and Sterling Sharp are able to connect, I mean, it's going to be a long day for Prime. But Lewis Oliver and Jarvis Williams, they're good enough to kind of offset that and stop it a little bit. But it's like you said, they always have epic battles, and they kind of always go at each other. So it'll be interesting to see how they square off. But I'll probably just pick Prime just because I've been picking them for a while now, and I didn't even pick Jesus to win. So.
Oh, we have a surprise guest here, Matt. We have the current 3-time in a row Madison champion Joey Gatz in the chat room with us. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? Just tuning into the show. Figured I could give some predictions too. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Matt, do you have anything you want to ask Joey before we continue on here?
Nah, not really. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm doing good. Are you going to not Madison, the Midwest this year?
Nah, that's in July?
Yeah, the end of the month.
Yeah, no, I won't be able to make that only because I have work and stuff like that.
Before we go on here, there is talk that while Joey keeps winning Madison, we kind of have the best of the East of Matt versus the best of the Midwest of Joey. I can't wait to have you guys play live sometime and see what happens.
Oh yeah, that should be fun. But I'm East too, though. I'm not Midwest.
No, I know you're East too. I'm just saying it's just that because Matt keeps winning all these Eastern tournaments. Is all I was saying.
Yeah, I mean he's better than me at the tournaments on the how do you say it? A percentage wise, he wins a lot more than me. I don't really win tournaments besides Madison actually.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I had a chance to win the one, but I got unlucky versus Moore.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, we're going to push on here with our predictions here. So I agree with what you were saying, Matt, that I think that if QB Bills to Sterling Sharp goes well, it'll be Jesus' day. But if it doesn't, it's not going to. What do you think, Joe?
I'm going to predict Jesus loves to win.
Do you have a score in mind?
I think it would be a 4-point game, something close.
So basically a field goal. Someone kicked a field goal and they need to bomb it at the end to score a touchdown and run out clock. I got you.
Yep.
All right. So the other playoff matchup is Rico versus Zur. We obviously know what Rico has. His offense is solely based around QB Eagles' run game as well as a little bit of passing. Just to remind everybody, he has the 49ers running backs. He has the Bengals wide receivers, which I don't think really matters much. And on defense, he has the Lions defensive line, so Jerry Ball could probably pop through. He has the Rams linebackers with Kevin Green, and then he has the Eagles defensive backs. And then Zur has, going back down to Zur, he has Boomer Esiason, I believe, as this is loading. Yep, he's got Boomer Esiason. He's got the Pittsburgh Steelers running backs. He has Andre Rison with the Falcons wide receivers. And then on defense, it's basically the Charles Haley show. I mean, he's got the how did Zur go 12-4 with this team? I don't even understand. His defense, I mean, this secondary of the Packers is not very good. I got to give Zur a lot of credit because he went 12-4 with a 38 MS running back, basically just throwing Boomer to Andre Rison with one usable guy, one manable defender on defense. It looks like their season series, he split with War Machine, but both games were within a score or two. So that's kind of surprising. And then he kind of looks like his losses were he lost both games to Rico though, and then his other losses to Trendretti. I'm sorry, I gotta think Rico's gonna win this game. I just don't see how Rico doesn't win this game. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I want to pick Rico, but there's some freaking shit going on with Zur that I'm gonna be crazy enough, and I'm gonna pick Zur for this game, just because I don't know. I just feel like he has it in him to win. He won 10 straight, so I'm just going with the hot hand on this one. And people probably think I'm crazy picking against QB Eagles, but you know what? I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm gonna go with Zur.
You're not just picking against QB Eagles. You're picking against QB Eagles in Rico's hands, like the most patient technical player there is in life.
Yeah, I know it's crazy, right? Jack Trudeau was also a crazy draft pick, but hey, it worked out. So I'm gonna pick Zur. Is it really Zur or is it just Ruiz spelled backwards? Because I know it's his last name. I don't know if we ever confirmed that, but I'm gonna go with the Vikings on this one.
I don't know. Joey's friends with him. How do you pronounce his name, buddy?
Zur.
It's Zur.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going with Zur.
Well, I'm glad I'm going to start saying Zor instead of Zur because I keep saying Zur instead of Zor. So, what do you think is going to happen in this game, Joey?
First off, what Zur did this season is very impressive because I have his team as the third worst. But I think Rico's going to dominate this game. But still a good season by Zur, especially with that mediocre team.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. So just quickly now with the rest of the predictions, because we're not going to probably pod again before. If we do, it's not going to be till probably before the Super Bowl. I think with the rest of the NFC playoffs, guys, how do you see the divisional rounds playing out? Or we don't have to even go that. Who do you guys see in the championship game? And then who do you see going to the Super Bowl for the NFC?
That's like really hard to call. I'm gonna just say War Machine.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. I am putting all my eggs in the War Machine basket. I think he is playing phenomenally. I think he is not. There's probably the only person who works harder on their craft than you, Joey, or as hard as him is War Machine, and I think that he is going to go and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl again. I really do. What do you think, Matt?
I'm gonna go with Nas. I'm just gonna pick the consistent players that usually win these things and go to the championships. So I'm gonna go with Nas. I mean, he went 14-2 as well, and it's weird because he's a good player. He's kind of flying under the radar because you got Rico and QB Eagles, you got War Machine doing well, but I'm gonna go with Nas.
Good pick.
Good pick. So we got some dissension here. I definitely think it's going to be, since they're on opposite sides of the bracket, I definitely think it'll be War Machine versus Nas in the championship game in the NFC. And just a reminder to everybody that War Machine did beat Nas in the regular season. So, for what it's worth. So, you heard it here first. We're all differing kind of, or 2-1 with me and Joey versus Matt. But that's pretty much the NFC wrap up there. If we had sponsors, there would be a word from our sponsors now, but we don't, so we're just going to keep going. So, starting, should we wait? What's that Hyperkin? So we start running a Hyperkin commercial for Madison. So basically, now we're going to look at the AFC West. I think, with this season, one of my biggest surprises, my three biggest surprises, and this is one of them. We already talked about Zur and his shit show of a team, going 12-4, and also Turbo. But I think Randy Wags going 12-4 with that team just is crazy to me. So good, kudos to him. Although he did lose both games against you, Joey. But I also think I expected more from Tadeos, honestly, in this division. So that was kind of disappointing for me here. But obviously, Joey wins the division per usual. I think he should have beat Tadeos as well. So honestly, his record should be 13-3, not 12-4. I kind of gave that game away, even though he didn't deserve to win it. I wish that video was still up, because Matt, you should watch it, because I didn't see it yet. But I heard that the third quarter on was just unbelievable to watch. Basically, it was Gats putting on a back and B clinic that only Gats can do.
It wasn't really back and B. It was just crazy all around. Interceptions, an onside kick, a fumble. It was great. And then CCs. I don't think I had one JJ. I think they were just CCs. I could not get JJs this year. Anytime I went for a JJ offense, I lost the game.
Which is interesting, because I believe Steve DeBerg had one of the best JJ seasons there was in the league. I think, didn't Brewdog have him in that season that he was competing against you? What was that, season 35, where you guys were having the JJ off, Ellard and Royce?
Yeah, I think I'm just better with a 44 when it comes to JJ, maybe.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think about this division?
I mean, are we picking winners, or are we just...
No, just kind of going over what happened and the records and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that Randy went 12-4 and went 8-8. Didn't Kevin go 8-8 last season, or 9-7, and just miss out on the playoffs too? Yeah, I mean, hats off to Randy Wags. I mean,
are you still there, Matt?
Yeah, can you still hear me?
I thought you just said head. Okay, I didn't know you were done talking. Key point here: what's the bigger surprise? Jack Trudeau continuing his quest to be a starting QB Super Bowl winner in HSTL, or the fact that Randy Wags went 12-4 and made the playoffs with Mike Tomczak as a starting QB? I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one is more. I mean, if you look at our offenses, honestly, they're so similar. Actually, I think mine is a little bit better if you just kind of take out the James Brooks factor, just because I have Meggett at wide receiver. And I don't know. This is a tough. Our teams are actually really similar, to be honest with you. Except he's got that monster of a front line of the hitting power and the monster linebackers of the Giants. But in any event, Gas, did you have issues playing against him with that monster front seven?
Yeah, but not too bad, because I think he was one of the few people I got a pretty good JJ game going on. I think, I can't remember though, but yeah, the front seven definitely gave me problems. And far as more impressive, definitely Wags, because his team's not very good.
Well, you heard it here first. All right, go ahead.
And the most shocking was probably Stoltall, because he had a really good team.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going into now, is the AFC Central. No surprise.
Okay.
No surprise that Tecmo Bowl won the division, because he's been up there every season and he's been playing really well. Kind of surprised that he lost the last two to go 11-5 when he was competing for the number 1 overall seed. But as I think my biggest shock of the season is Stoltall going 6-10. I think he had a decent team. I think maybe he just got bored. Maybe he didn't like the format. Maybe he just didn't want to play. I don't know. But, I mean, his team, while, he didn't have necessarily a fast wide receiver, was definitely good enough for him, in my opinion. I mean, his defense was set with Lonnie Young and Tim McDonald and Ray Childress. He had an okay offensive line. He had enough running game with Keith Woodside. He had the blocking with Haddix. He had Phil Simms. You know, he had Eric Martin as his primary wide receiver, who was a little slow. I agree. The fact that he only went 6-10, I don't have an answer for that. I mean, Matt, you know him best of everybody. What do you think?
Like I said, I mean, that started to happen after when we attended the New Jersey tournament. He lost in the final in that one, so I don't know. I mean, maybe the win got kind of knocked out of his sail with that, or he just lost interest. I don't know, because I know, see, Sean plays a lot of other games, so it's really he'll get hot and then sometimes he'll get cold. So I know he's been playing a lot of Fortnite lately, just because I see him on Xbox half the time. But I really don't know what happened to him. But I thought he drafted a really good team that fit his style very well. So I mean, I haven't heard from him just because we've both been working for about like 2 weeks. So I'm not sure what happened. But you know, if he went 6-10, he's gonna get somebody good next year, and he'll probably bounce back.
Yep.
But as far as the West thing before, my phone cut out, so I wasn't done talking. But I was just gonna say that I expected Joey to kind of grab the first seed and do well. And hats off to Randy for doing well in his season too.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking at the box score list for Sean, his losses, just in no particular order, are against. He lost against War Machine, lost against Tecmo Bow twice, lost against Tadeos, lost against Rico, lost against Gats, lost against Diaz, lost against Zur. So I mean, the inexplicable loss that he had was against Miami. Maybe something happened. I can open up that box, but it's not worth it. But I mean, his losses are against some of the people who had the best records in the league. So maybe it was just one of those seasons, you know. And most of his losses were within a score or two. There was no blowout losses, I think, anywhere here. So just for what it's worth.
I think, like you said at first, it was just lack of interest. I don't think he was interested in the season. And like Maddie said, it was probably after that Jersey tournament. That definitely would take the win out of anyone and put you in a slump.
Well, I will say, if we have time within this pod, someone has to explain Fortnite to me because I have no idea what it is. So I know, don't laugh at me. So, all right, now we're on to the AFC East. You know, while we didn't have the best records, every team 500 or better except for the Dolphins. So this was the one division where it was like mostly, it wasn't like the haves and have-nots. It was the mostly mediocre kind of thing. I will say my surprise was Big Hawk. Kudos to him for finishing the season on a 6-game win streak. I didn't think that he had. I'm pulling up his team right now on the stream. I don't think he had the team to do it because I don't like pairing Warren Moon with the Giants wide receivers, but it worked for him, and I didn't necessarily know if he had enough on defense with the Chiefs defensive backs and the Saints linebackers, but he did, and obviously he proved it. So he got in some shootouts with Moon, and he did work. So it's a shame he lost the tiebreaker against Old Dirty. But hats off to Hawk for a good season. Also, hats off to Rockman for coming back strong and, almost doing enough to make it. But, I mean, we have to call a spade here. The real story of this season is that Jack Trudeau,
Right.
the team that Matty D drafted for me, that everyone thought would swirl down the toilet, starts off hot. I think I started 4-1 and 5-2. Had a little lull there in the middle of the season, and ended the season 8-8, thinking I was completely out of the playoffs. And somehow, due to a whole bunch of tie-breaking mechanisms, Jack Trudeau lives to throw another interception. Maybe his first playoff interception ever in HSTL history, to play in the season 45 playoffs. And honestly, granted, my first game against Old Dirty, I had some Trudeau magic, but I think we always play close. I think that the second game I had against him, Jack was just off, and I think that as long as Jack isn't completely a mess, it should be a good game. And while Diaz or Old Dirty's team is better than mine, I think it's a winnable game for the Bills. But Matt, you first, since you drafted the team, and I gotta admit to you, and I kind of told you, what the hell? But I'm gonna trust you. So now here's your swan song to lay the haters to rest as you talk about your triumph of having the Buffalo Bills make the playoffs.
You crack me up. Jesus. No, well, you played the game, so hats off to you for freaking playing through all this stuff. But I mean, listen, it's Tecmo's Super Bowl. Like, if you're a good player, you don't need Warren Moons to freaking win you games and championships, yada yada yada. But I'll say this: what you have on your side is that nobody wants to lose to you and Jack Trudeau, because it'll be an epic embarrassment. So that is scaring everybody right now, because nobody wants to be shaking their head, like laughing that you won a playoff game nonetheless with Jack Trudeau. And honestly, I hope it happens for you. I hope he goes into excellent every game and throws for 378 yards and has a completion percentage of 94%. But we all know that's not going to happen. So, hats off to you. I'm happy you did well. I'm happy you made the playoffs. But, yeah, I mean, you have nothing to lose, dude. Like, honestly, you could go into every game, just like whatever, because nobody's expecting you to win with Jack Trudeau and freaking David Meggett at receiver and Irving Fryer as your second receiver. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. You got that on your side. Good luck to you. To all the haters that diss Jack Trudeau, well, he's in the playoffs, so that's all that needs to be said about that.
Oh,
that's it, man.
Gats, what do you think, buddy?
I think your team matches up pretty well against a lot of these defenses that are in the playoffs, especially mine, because I don't have no answer, really. My DBs are terrible. And your defense is pretty solid. But versus Diaz's team, he's the Colts. He got Deion Sanders, so he can JJINT you at will. So that's going to be tough. I think the two toughest people for you in the playoffs would be Diaz, who you got round one, and then Randy Wags. But anyone else, you probably have a good chance versus.
Yeah, so so if I beat Diaz, just so everyone knows, this is the NFL format, so it's not a set bracket; it's a realignment kind of thing. So whoever the top seed is, I would play them. So if I did win and beat Diaz somehow, I'd be playing you in the second round, just so you know. So yeah, go ahead.
And that would be a shootout. That would be depend if my QB's on and he's been off. I threw 4 picks to the Colts DBs versus Tados, so it's definitely a winnable game if you can make it.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be if I can make it. So why don't we jump into our predictions here and talk about what we think is going to happen here. So obviously we kind of talked about my game versus Old Dirty. I think that the first game, it really helped that Otis Anderson went excellent. I think I kind of pulled that game out of my ass. I think the second game, Jack was cold. I think Jack needs to be on. I needed some favorable conditions, maybe even a turnover to beat him. Maybe play a little bit better defense to beat Old Dirty. I'm not just saying this to kind of be like funny. I definitely think Old Dirty is going to win that game, but I'm going to go into it guns a-blazing, and Jack Trudeau is going to go down fighting with his last breath. What do you guys think is going to happen against Old Dirty with my team? Matt, go ahead, buddy. Because Gat's already kind of said it.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, like I said, well, not like I said, like Joey just said, it really depends on Deion Sanders. If he's able to get a pick or two, you're kind of dead in the water. But if you're able to kind of avoid that, I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a winnable game. So that's what I think. I mean, I think that, if you're able to get a fumble in your favor, I think it's definitely going to be a winnable game for you, because I don't know, it's just a momentum shift. So I think it's it's pretty much just going to be that game of turnovers. If you make a mistake and Trudeau's a little off, I think Diaz will kind of win it pretty handily. But if there's a fumble, I think it'll be close.
TSB Bojack, who I think that's Tecmo Bo, maybe not. I don't know who that is. Said, if Hoff beat me in the playoffs with that team, I'd quit the league in a clean game, that is. So there you go, Matt. More people are saying nobody believes in us. Nobody believes in the wagon circling of the Buffalo Bills. Oh, it is Tecmo Bo. So basically, Tecmo Bo is laying the gauntlet down. So just for that, I hope I make it against Tecmo Bo just to kick his ass. Anyway, so that's because, I know Ryan Stewart is dying to get in the league, so just saying. In the other matchup, it is Randy Wags versus Big Hawk. And I don't know, man. Randy Wags is just taking these high MS running backs, using his tapping advantage over people, and just running through them. He's putting all the ISO runs in and just pounding you and pounding you and pounding you. And then when you guess run because you can't stop him because he's out tapping you, he then makes perfect passes somehow with Tom Zach. So, I'm picking Randy Wags to beat Hawk. I know Hawk is on a win streak here, but I just don't see. I'm going to continue the Cinderella story here of Randy Wags and with the season he's had with that team. But what do you guys think?
I got Randy Wags. Should be a good game, and I want Randy Wags to win because Hawk's team is a nightmare for my team, and he destroyed me in the regular season with that team. So,
yeah,
anyone that could is a threat to me, I don't want them to win.
Yeah, I will say that while Hawk's defense could be suspect, his offense is a home run offense. Where when he's got his burn roots working with both his 56 MS receivers, and he can definitely throw the CCs to Marv Cook too. I think that he is. He's a challenge for people. As you can see in some of his scores, he beat Old Dirty 41-35 in a game. So he's definitely got some shootouts. And I think he was behind Tecmo Bo by like 5 points for scoring the most points in the league in the season. So I will say though, I will say that Randy Wags though has been doing his thing. So what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Randy Wags. I just think that his tapping ability will kind of offset anything else. And Randy Wags is a smart player too. That's why he's 12-4 with the type of team he has. So I'm going to go with him just because I think he uses his head. He plays well. He limits mistakes. So I'm going to go with Randy Wags over Hawk.
So it's going to be interesting because Randy Wags has that beast front line, right? He's got all 69 HP at I think except for one spot, and then he's got LT at the one spot. And honestly, his front 4 or 5 can destroy Hawk's line because aside from Bruce Armstrong, Hawk doesn't have anyone above 50. He's got a 38 guy, 250 guys, and a 44 guy. But I will tell you that Randy Wags' secondary, which is slow, it's the same secondary, is susceptible to the quick burn routes. So it's going to be interesting to see the strength of Randy Wags' defense, which is kind of stopping the run, go against the passing of Warren Moon, because I don't know if Hawk can get the quick passing game going with Moon. It neutralizes Wags using Gary Reasons in the secondary. And so if he's not using Reasons, the use someone faster, that only helps him, which my guess is he'd probably either use LT or maybe even Pepper. I'm not even sure who he would use. He'd use one of the two of them. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that game plays out. Unless Moon has a monster game, though, I just don't see Hawk beating Randy Wags, to be honest with you. For the rest of the playoffs, Joey, I don't see a world where you don't go to the Super Bowl at all. So I'm just
me?
Oh yeah.
No, I don't. I hate my team. I don't have no defense. I think my pick is Tecmo Bo.
I'm gonna go with I'm not there. I'm not gonna be the guy who goes against a 3-time in a row Madison and HSTL champion, like current champion, against that. So I'm gonna pick you. You can pick Bo if you want. Matt, what do you think?
Well, I'd be an idiot not to pick Jack Trudeau and the Buffalo Bills. No, I'm just kidding.
If you pick that, if you pick that dough and I made it, you should definitely go to Vegas and play some blackjack, or just leave it all in black or something, dude.
Yeah, right. No, I'm picking Joey to go and win too.
You're really picking me? Did you watch any of my games versus like the elite players? Because Tecmo Bowl blew me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I didn't watch any of the games, but I mean, I know your skill set, so I'm still picking you, man.
I will say though, Tecmo Bowl does have a perfect offense of speed, where he's got Marino throwing quick strikes to Galt, to Brown, to Grady, whatever, and Mervin Hernandez. So it's going to be, if Gats can take advantage of Tecmo Bowl's crappy secondary. So basically, if you have DeBerg, right, Gats?
Yeah, he got 3 picks on me when we played.
Yeah, that's luck. I think DeBerg to Ellard and Flipper, I think is who you have, is going to destroy this secondary, and I just think that you're due for a good game. And I think that without those turnovers, I mean, think about it. You turned over the ball those 3 times, and I'm trying to go to the box score here if I can find it. Oh, you turned the ball over 3 times, and you only lost by 10 points. So, I mean, basically, it was only 1 pick, man. He picked you once and hit a 4th down stop. Really interesting, though, in his game versus Gats. So DeBerg had a bad game. He went 8 for 20, 205. Really interesting, though, is that Tecmo Bowl only passed 3 times. With that high-powered offense, he only passed 3 times against Gats and ran 13 times for 57 with Blair Thomas and scrambled twice. So aside from a couple of long passes to Blair Thomas and Willie Galt, I'm telling you, man, I think, Ellard wasn't bad. I'm just saying that I think you could destroy that secondary. So I'm picking Gats to go to the championship. I will say, I am picking War Machine to win it all. I mean, we can kind of wait to see. We can do a preview of the Super Bowl again, but right now, as we sit, assuming that it's Gats versus War Machines Part 2, I'm picking War to win it all. What do you think, Matt?
No, I think it's gonna be Gats versus Nas, and I don't know. I think I might pick Nas on this one to win it all, but like I said, I still like Joey. He's being humble right now, but I still like him to win it. It's just that I don't know. I mean, Nas is 14-2. He's been a perennial contender, so I'm gonna go with Nas just because.
I got Tecmo Bowl. Who does he play round 1 though?
Tecmo Bowl has a bye round 1, so he's gonna.
Who would he play?
He will play the winner of Randy Wags and Hawk.
If he got Randy Wags, he's gonna win that. If he got Hawk, that could be a toss-up. But yeah, I got Tecmo Bowl.
So then you got Tecmo Bowl. Who do you had War Machine coming out of the NFC? Who do you have winning the Super Bowl between those two?
Yeah, Tecmo Bowl.
So you got Tecmo Bowl winning it all.
Yeah.
So the 3 of us disagree. That's fine. It leads to good banter. I'm still putting all my eggs in the War Machine basket, and if I somehow make it against War Machine myself, I'm putting all my eggs in Jack Trudeau's basket, because Jack Trudeau then would be a Super Bowl participant. But that's all we really have here for the season in review. What else do you guys want to talk about? We actually kept it to under an hour, and we got some spare time here.
True that. No, go ahead, Jay.
It looks like another season I'm going to go without getting a good defense because of my draft slot. And the format, I didn't realize that Fulcher came with a 56 MS running back this year. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we can kind of talk about the draft format a little bit. So we put up a vote to run this draft format that Tecmo Bowl came up with back, or to run a new one that I put up that we'd never done before. We had done similarly, but basically I went through and I paired running back 1 with DB4 and going backwards, obviously, so 2 with DB3, 3 with DB2, and then 4 with DB1. And did the same thing with wide receiver and linebacker. So I don't remember ever seeing a draft like that where they were paired that way. That vote was really close, a lot closer than I thought it would be. Less people were sick of the format than I thought. but that vote did win. So we're doing that, and we're going through round 0 right now. And something really interesting happening is that because of the super tandems at the top, aside from the MAC, everybody's staying where they are. Everyone wants to be the earliest pick. As we kind of talked about it, we'll do a whole draft preview, or maybe do a draft review, or maybe we'll do both. But a couple of juicy tandems on there are, as we kind of talked about, you said, I think probably the juiciest tandem on the board, in my opinion, and like what you said too, is James Brooks and David Fulcher. I think from a running back DB standpoint, that's the best. From a wide receiver and linebacker perspective, Ellard and Kevin Green, I would say, is probably the best. That also is pretty close with, I would say, Jeffries and Childress, but I mean, Elder's obviously better than Jeffries. I think those are probably the two best there off the top of my head. Are there what other super tandems did you notice, Joey?
I think Steinson comes with Bailey.
Yeah, Lemuel Stinson comes with Johnny Bailey. That's also pretty good. But I mean, Matt, do you have any comments? Because I've used the term a lot now. It's kind of become a thing of mine now. I think a 38, 44, 56, 38 running speed, 44 rushing power, 56 max speed guy is just fast enough to be too slow. Maybe I get made fun of for that, maybe not. But what are your thoughts on that? Is that fast enough to be your man guy, or is that just a little bit too slow?
No, I mean, in a league like HSTL, I feel like it's a little bit too slow. I mean, could you make it work? Sure, but I mean, that's why people get old that have all these burner routes and all that stuff, because they get behind the defense. You could do burner routes, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I would say it's a little too slow.
Yeah, I mean, some other good tandems here, just from the running back DB perspective, are Roger Craig and David Waymer. You've got, just kind of scrolling up, you've got Barry Sanders and William White, which is obviously Barry with a serviceable guy. Johnny Johnson and Tim McDonald, which is kind of a little bit under the radar. I would say Otis Anderson and Greg Jackson, but he's a little slow. Who else are we doing here? Herschel Walker and Joey Browner. That for having still a serviceable running back. That's kind of it from a running back, I think, standpoint.
You think Science is too slow? I think only versus a certain team. Game examples. If he went against Jesus Loves Me team that he has this year and Steinson was your D, that's what you will want. That's plenty for that.
Some people might say that the best running back, defensive back tandem is Neil Anderson and Mark Carrier. Once again, I just think I would, if I had a choice between David Fulcher and James Brooks and Neil Anderson and Mark Carrier, I would choose James Brooks and David Fulcher all day.
Well, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Now, what if you had a choice between Deion Sanders and, let's say, Rozier, or the other one, Steinson and Bailey?
I am still... Well, no, hold on one second. If you're going to choose Bailey and Stinson, you might as well choose Neil Anderson and Carrier, because Stinson and Carrier are the exact same speed. And Carrier...
Well, I know, I'm just going with something that's a similar that you're trying.
I would choose the faster DB, because although maybe not as much anymore. It's weird because as the seasons have gone on here, I was a straight DB guy where I always just man DB no matter what, and now with these different teams that either have been drafted for me, I mean, I don't think I barely manned McMillan this season at all, and I think I manned Dent the most, maybe a little bit of Little. So I gotta say that I've totally become a DL guy simply because I love having the nickel back. I mean, I don't think there's enough value placed on the Chicago defensive line because of what you can do with Dent. But, and obviously, to a lesser extent, Ray Agnew as well with the New England defensive line. But I got to tell you that I don't know. I just think the speed is kind of more important. It really depends on your playing style, because you can, for me, and Getz, you prove this yourself. Deion Sanders can be a one-man show for a defense and be a lockdown defender for the whole defense. You've done this before in a season where Sanders was your only guy. You can't have a guy as slow as Stinson be your one defender. Stinson needs to have linebacker help or DL help, someone to help him stop the run, where Sanders technically really doesn't. Matt, what do you think?
Right, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing behind it. It's this, like, I'm thinking as if I'm playing with a D-pad, because that's what I use, you know what I mean? So I need the extra speed, like with the Deion Sanders. Now, if I was playing with a joystick, I could totally, honestly, I could use, honestly, the Colts defenders, you know what I mean? Just as long as, nobody could CC on me. Like, that's the difference, because you're moving in a circular motion. You don't lose speed. You know what I mean? So that's my thinking behind it. But, I mean, Joey did use Deion as a one-man defense, and he shut down everybody. But I've also seen Joe use Carrier as a one-man defense and shut down everybody. So it's like, yeah, I mean, he's just a very good defender, defensive player, I should say. It's just that's my thinking behind it. I'm thinking about using a D-pad, and I know some people, they use analogs or whatever, but you pick up more speed when you use that. So that's my thinking behind it. That's the only reason why I would choose Deion. But like I said, if I had an analog controller, I would choose Stinson, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand. It does. Going to the wide receivers and linebackers, since we have a second here, if I can scroll to this. Your super tandems, as we kind of talked about, there really aren't many super tandems, honestly. You have Hayward Jeffries and Ray Childress. That's a good one. I mean, if you consider Emil Harry's hidden stats that Josh Holtzbauer says there are, and Derek Thomas, then you're kind of gold there. I would say probably Page and Percy Snow is a really good tandem. I would say Duper and Offerdell is an under-the-radar tandem. Who else we got here? Kind of going down the list. You could probably go Mark Ingram, and Carl Banks, maybe. But, just kind of like really grasping at straws here. There's definitely less super wide receiver and linebacker tandems than there are running back and DB tandems, I'll tell you that. But the prize of this is Ellard and Green, clearly. And I don't think, maybe John Taylor and Charles Haley is another really good one. And other than that, that's really it. So, what do we list? We listed 6. So basically, I think when people are picking their wide receivers and linebackers, for the most part, you're not getting value picks. You're kind of getting one guy, one stud, and that's it.
What's interesting about this is LT may drop really far because of this.
I don't know if I see LT dropping far just because he's LT, but it really kind of depends on the linebackers, I think. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I'm curious to see if, hypothetically, if you're thinking logically, the fact that William White comes with Barry Sanders means he should be picked higher than Bo Jackson. So we'll see if that actually happens. I don't know if it will or will not, but
who's Bo Jackson come with?
Bo Jackson comes with Mike Harden, a slow but 50 interception drone. So Marcus Allen comes with Eddie Anderson. That's actually a decent pick. I wouldn't pick that over Bo, but it's just going to be it's all going to be really interesting. Gil Bird comes with Joe Caravello, so you're basically just picking Gil Bird in that situation. At least Lott comes with Rathman, so at least you get your big guy there. But Wayne Haddix comes with John Harvey, who's a 38 MS running back. What are you doing with him? So another underrated one that we probably should have mentioned was Kelvin Bryant coming with Martin Mayhew. That's a good one too. But I would say that I think it's gonna be nice to kind of get back to a normal draft. I think next season I'll probably post a draft format that goes really normal, probably even with backups. Again, we haven't done that in a while. or something along those lines. But I think that HSTL just hit 18 on the waiting list today when Redneck Whiskey signed up. So we're doing something right, and I think that I appreciate all you listening, everyone who plays. I know we had someone rest this season with the demerit thing and what have you, but and I know there were some questions on why I just didn't penalize anybody in the draft. But after the fiasco, the demerits, people saying they didn't really know, and the off season and my vacation, whatever, I just didn't feel right penalizing people when it was already so much bad taste in the mouth. There's no excuses now, though. Everyone knows the rules. There's going to be, your exceptions are going to have to be with a good reason. There's no, I was making something for my wife. So, you're just going to have to take your medicine. So that's pretty much all I have, guys. I'm kind of curious, though, now that I have the two of you on here, if you guys were playing live, and I want to hear the answer from both of you. Gats first, and then Matt. If you had to call a matchup versus each other, Gats, what would you call versus Matt?
Okay. Cincinnati versus Chicago.
Why would
Cincinnati versus San Diego?
Why would you call those matchups versus Matt?
No, it's not because of him. It's just two of my favorite matchups.
Gotcha. And then who would you hope? Would you care who Matt took in those, or can you play well with either one of them?
Yeah, it doesn't matter in them ones.
What about you, Matt? What do you think?
I'd probably pick Pittsburgh, Phoenix.
Interesting. And would you care who he picked, or would you could do well with either one of them?
Nah, it would just be a toss up. It wouldn't matter.
If you guys ever want to have an online series, I'm sure we could get a lot of people watching it to kind of see what would happen between the two of you. Just saying. Also, Matt, I think another good series I was thinking of as we were talking here is how good of a team could you beat with the Indianapolis Colts? And I honestly think we should do like a little series as well of people challenging you with teams against the Indianapolis. You using the Indianapolis Colts and just watching you make them want to quit Tecmo. I think that would be a fun watch as well. And just for the record, for everybody, I played him personally 2 games in a row with the Phoenix Cardinals. Granted, there's some bad luck that went my way against the Colts, and he beat me both times. So just saying that even me playing him, not that I'm that great, but even me playing him with a team that I'm pretty comfortable with, which is the Cardinals, he still beat me convincingly, even though there was some technical luck there. But Matt, is there like a threshold of how good of a team you feel comfortable beating with the Colts, or do you feel like depending on the player you can beat anybody with the Colts?
No, I mean, I don't think it depends on the player. I think if I played someone with the Niners, the Bills, or the Oilers, they'd still be able to beat me, even if there's a first-time player or not. But I mean, like I said, I've beaten people with the Chiefs. I've beaten people with the Eagles. So I'd probably cap it at that.
So you using the Colts had beaten someone else using the Chiefs and Eagles is what you're saying?
Yeah. The reason why I started getting good with the Colts is because my friends and I, we used to play, and Joey knew this back in the day. We used to play like on our own little forum, and I would play Colts versus Chiefs versus my friends, and I would be in like 50% of the time, and that's the reason why I started getting good with the Colts.
Okay.
I heard a story he beat Diaz with the Colts, and Diaz was Miami. So that would definitely be fun to watch, people challenging him. I would love to see that.
I mean, I would love to see that too, and we could even, Matt, if you were down, we could even introduce Darth Rockman's handicap that he does in TTL, where basically at a certain level, teams have to sit their best player of your choosing against you, and that way you can go all the way up to who knows what. For example, so like you could, if you're playing the Niners, they'd have to sit Joe, I would assume, or Jerry, whichever your choice. Probably Joe, I would assume, or something along those lines. It'd be interesting if you were down with something like that. I would love to put something like that together. I would totally commentate every one of those games for you. Just record the NSV, and I will totally post those games. That would be hysterical. Because more importantly, I'd be really curious, aside from Tecmo happening where there's luck involved and stuff, I'd be curious to see how many people you actually beat, because I bet you'd probably beat 75% of the people you played. I'd almost guarantee it. I mean, people are afraid. When you call the Colts in a tournament matchup, I've heard this, they're afraid to play you. No matter what you call versus the Colts, they're afraid to play you. It's almost like you playing the Colts versus any of the teams that are supposed to play the Colts, it's like they've already lost. They're going into it knowing they've already lost.
Really? I mean, I didn't even know that, but yeah, I mean, I would do something like that. I don't know if I'd win 75% of the time. I mean, that's a high clip, and there's a lot of different players. They have all different styles, you know what I mean? So that's a high percentage, but, you know, I would definitely try my hardest, but I don't know if it would be that high of a percentage. I would definitely do it, though, if people were willing or whatever the case may be. I mean, the conversation's cool to have, not just with that, but, like, well, what matchup would you call versus who? Like, you know, that you just spoke about me and Joey, that's cool. And that's what's fun about talking about, like, Tecmo, you know, not just HSTL, but just Tecmo in general. That's what kind of makes the podcast, like, unique and kind of fun to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just kind of looking through the chat here. It looks like Rockman says he doesn't know if I'll score any points in the playoffs. That's when Tecmo Bo was saying that stuff. War Machine says picking against Gats is like picking against the Warriors. I agree with that. Tecmo Bo went on to talk about how his team sucks. War Machine says, I love how these studs find ways to make it seem like they're underdogs. That's funny. And it's kind of going down the list here. It's just kind of everyone chatting and then talking about the draft a little bit. So I guess that's all I got, guys. Gats, thanks for surprising us with this. Matt, let's do this again. Definitely before the Super Bowl. If you actually are willing, the draft will be. If we don't do it before the end of the draft, Matt, the draft will be over at the end of next week, and we'll definitely have to do a draft review after that. So figure. The very end of next week, if we have a good rolling weekend or beginning of the following week, we'll have to do a draft review anyway. So if you just prepare for that. And then that's pretty much all I got. So Gats, thanks for coming on, buddy. And Matt, thank you as always. And do you guys have anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, it was fun, and I'm looking forward to see people challenge Matt in that indie thing.
Yeah, Matt, if you're down with that, I'll get a whole feature on T-Borg, and we'll get that. I'll even do a whole Discord channel for it. So let me know what we can talk off the record on this and see what we can do with that. But if that's all we got, guys, thank you again, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Yeah, fun with you guys. Thanks for coming on, Joe.
No problem, man. Nice talking to you. Have a good one.
All right.
You too. Have a good